You're listening to CreepGeeks Podcast. So it begins again. Welcome back to the CreepGeeks Podcast. This is Season 8, Episode 330.
We lost Pepper, Art Bell movie, and paranormal and weird news.
Yeah. So it begins again. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Greg.
I'm Omi.
And we got a lot of stuff to talk about. It's been a minute. We've had a little bit of a go with what's been going on with our lives. So we'll talk a little bit about Pepper, or actually Omi will, here in a little bit. But she was great. I'm not saying about that now. But
Pepper had congestive heart failure. And when she was diagnosed, we knew that we would only have a little bit of time with her. And with medicine and proper care, we got an extra year and a half with her. But, you know, congestive heart failure is what it is. And we miss her a lot. I still cry all the time. I mean, nearly 15 years of my life and Greg's life with this dog that was only $25. But we took her back and forth across the country a million times. She was a great dog. We were spoiled. We took her everywhere. So many of you that listen to us or follow us have actually met Pepper. And she made everybody's lives better. She loved meeting new people. She loved going to events. She loved going places, even if it was just a road trip or a car trip. She loved the fact that I would take her hiking. She really liked kids a lot, and she was a good dog to take everywhere. In fact, sometimes we wouldn't go places if we found out we couldn't bring her.
yeah.
This dog lived an amazing life. In the almost 15 years that we had her, you know, we took her places that most people don't even get to see, like the Elma Pay and the Grand Canyon. And we took her on paranormal investigations and like even Tombstone and some of the most haunted places we've ever been allowed to go to. We took her. And Pepper didn't like ghosts. She especially did not like things that went bump in the night in the woods. Granted, Pepper was only 12 pounds, but I remember this one time I took Pepper and our other dog, Bender Oak, hiking in the San Ysidro area. And we were approximately 30 yards from a Mexican gray wolf, which had recently been re-released into the area. I was trying to control both the dogs and looked up and noticed there was this huge, gigantic wolf not very far away. And our big dog, Ben, the pacifist, but that's okay, immediately kind of backed up closer to me, and Pepper was full on ready to fight him. She was good and brazen and wonderful. And, I got to experience things with her that I've never been able to experience in my life up until that point. I climbed my first big mountains with her, seen some amazing waterfalls, and I brought this dog along with me. And she's such a part of my life that it's been hard to Instagram without her. And I know that sounds silly, but if there's things I love in my life, it's my family, Greg, my dog, Pepper, and photography. And it's just been hard.
Yeah. She was fantastic. She was a great lady, and she will be deeply missed. All right. Anyway, I think we'll go ahead and actually talk a little bit about the podcast and some of the interesting things that we found. For those of you who don't know, we do have a Paranormal and Weird News podcast. We broadcast paranormal and strange news along with some of our experiences from our underground bunker in the mountains of western North Carolina. And we're glad you're with us. And if it's your very first time tuning into the podcast, welcome. And if you're a repeat offender, welcome back. Yeah. So we do have a couple different ways for you to get a hold of us and interact with us. One of them is a toll-free number.
That phone number is going to be 575-208-4025.
Yeah, that's toll-free. You can call, you can leave a message, you can text it, all that good stuff. So, in one of our last podcasts, because we're just going to kind of move into it, we had talked about something I thought was kind of funny, and then we sort of debated the idea about art. And it was the idea of this person who went around putting googly eyes on art sculptures. And, you had some people thinking it was funny, and then you had other people going, oh my God, you're going to destroy the art. And these were statues that were left outside. So, yeah. And they were talking about the adhesives from the glue. And I'm thinking, then, okay, they're just being a little.
Now, and yeah, because I got into it because, let's just say this is not the only googly eye artist or prankster out there. Yeah. And I know for a fact that these googly eyes, the adhesive on them, even if you buy the cheap ones from Temu or wherever, the adhesive is not so terrible.
Yeah, it just barely sticks to itself, so it's not like you're...
No, I will say, though, if it's like a brass or metal sculpture and the sun's beating down on it, it might cause a little bit of wear and tear, but no more than like those statues and sculptures in the UK where everybody kisses the nose of a dog, or the weird statue of a guy that everybody rubs his face for good luck type stuff.
Yeah, there's another one where it's in, I think, Louisiana, where it's like a fertility dude.
Oh, yeah.
I thought you were going to say that.
No,
I was gonna say it's inappropriate. Yeah. As funny as that would be.
Yeah, but, no more damage than those ones. So the fact that wherever was trying to claim that it was going to cause significant damage and thousands of dollars in cleaning, no.
Well, this happened in Bend, Oregon. So, and the perpetrator came forward, right?
Yeah.
And made themselves known. Because, here's some of the googly eyes that sparked smiles, laughter, and widespread curiosity. And then this person basically said, his name is Jeff Keith. I've always used pranks and humor to relieve stress of my work, because evidently he works in the human trafficking prevention organization, Guardian Group. But I never expected a prank like this to take on a life of its own. To that end, he acknowledged the city's concerns regarding the damage done by the googly eyes and offered assurances that I'm in conversation to address any unattended effects. So in his statement, he used basically his proverbial unmasking to raise awareness of his organization's mission to help those ensnared by human trafficking. And we got that off Coast to Coast AM. And anything we talk about on the podcast, if there's a link to it, it'll be on our website. If you go to CreepGeeks.com, you can click a link and follow along or read it at your leisure.
Yeah. And this guy's got a tough job. And I could see this being a good way to make light at the end of the day or during a hard day.
It was funny.
Yeah. I mean,
it was funny. And, of course, the city, they don't know what they're actually going to do.
Yeah.
They're basically saying they're not going to pursue anything at this time with the city staff and direct conversations with Jeff Keith.
Yeah.
But it remains to be seen whether or not Keith will have to reimburse the city for the cost of the pranks, or if he'll face any vandalism charges for his well-intentioned but expensive shenanigans. I'm going to call bullshit. Very loud.
Yeah.
What expensive shenanigans did he cause by sticking them on there? I mean, let's be honest about it. Okay, so even if they are copper bronze or, a bronze metal statue, they're only on there for like a minute.
Yeah.
So what expensive shenanigans? You go out there with some Brasso and clean it up and make the eyes super shiny in
They're
those
trying
spots?
to claim $1,500 in repairs. I'm sorry. I
think Oregon needs to relax.
What barkeeper's mate is $1.90.
Barkeeper's friend, you'd never want to
friend.
use that.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to use Brasso. You wouldn't want to use Neverdol or anything like that. It's just you just want to pull it off.
Yeah.
Maybe spray it down with some water and wipe it off, or use some kind of oil based. You know what you could use?
What?
WD-40.
Goo Gone.
If you could spray it on your, no, I wouldn't use Goo Gone. I would use WD-40. If you could spray it on your car and remove tar without damaging paint, I'm pretty sure you could remove some cheap garbage adhesive.
They have the new Goo Gone specifically made for not damaging that type of
That
stuff.
stuff's trash.
And even
Every time I've ever used it, it's
but
been
see,
trash.
I keep giving suggestions that are just because now the tiny bottle of that is $9. That's $1,500 in repairs. That's a lot of bottles and a lot of. I mean, I don't know.
I think they're just a little. I think they just need to settle down.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. He shouldn't have did it. But at the same time, they're like, oh my gosh, you've caused $18,000 worth of damage, and you're like, settle down, man. Seriously.
Yeah.
I think everybody just needs to take a breath, just in general. So anyway, he revealed himself.
Yeah.
Did the right thing. It was funny. I'm sure there was a lot more people had way more enjoyment out of seeing the sculptures with big googly eyes.
I think it's awesome.
It's funny. I think it's hilarious, but some people don't like that. And some people probably don't have a sense of humor. I can see the artist maybe being a little aggravated. But at the same time, if I was the artist, I think it's funny. It wasn't spray paint. It wasn't anything like that. And as much as people like to look at spray painted art pieces on the sides of walls, and stuff like, I think a lot of that's way more damaging. It's like vandalism, because it is what it is. But anyway, here's something I thought was pretty cool. As you may or may not know, Art Bell is the godfather of paranormal radio, just paranormal stuff in general. Brought it to the masses, and I don't care what anybody says. I'll fight you in the yard over it. He is. This dude had more listeners on AM radio than Oprah did watching television. Seriously.
Yeah.
Just because he started out doing politics. Art Bell has its own storied history, but as far as the radio goes, as far as when we started listening to him with the whole paranormal thing, he started out talking about politics. And then people call him with weird stuff, and he just rolled with it.
Yeah.
He's a pretty unique individual, or he was. He's passed on, but so now all of a sudden there's talks to have a movie created about Art Bell, and mainly the paranormal type stuff. Part of Good Morning Vietnam with Robin Williams was related, or was sort of tied into Art Bell.
Okay.
He broke records for being on the radio the longest, all sorts of crazy stuff, and he was his own one-man band. So when he would do his show, he was the host, the producer, the sound engineer. He did it all, man. And so now they're talking about possibly making a movie starring Paul Giamatti as Art Bell. So it's going to be a biopic, hopefully. And so, the Percolating Film Project is set to be directed by Matt. I don't even know who any of these people are, but anyway, it's supposed to be something that might be pretty decent to watch. I mean, it's already got the Amazon and Warner Brothers, sniffing around, going, oh, this is interesting.
Huh.
Yeah. And it's got Jeff Katz as a producer that's on this thing, and he's pretty famous. At least I've heard that name before.
Yeah.
So it's still in its sort of beginning stages, but the prospects of the movie coming to fruition look pretty promising. And Paul Giamatti is a very good character actor. And I'm sure with enough black makeup for his hair. What do you call it stuff? Hair dye? I don't know. Anyway, they could make him look a little bit like Art Bell.
I think he could carry Art Bell. I think
he's
could.
Paul Giamatti. The dude's a great actor. You know, last thing I think I watched him on, or was watching him on, was Billions. It's a pretty good show. So kind of looking forward to seeing something like that. So if you don't know who Art Bell is, you should Google him and maybe listen to some of his previous shows. He started Coast to Coast AM and made it what it was.
Yeah.
So to me, he is the OG. I mean, he's come back. He left and came back several times, and it was a pretty good time. And he was unique in the way he did his shows. You called in and told him some crazy stuff. He let you do your thing.
Yeah.
He didn't try to step on you. And but he had rules, which is cool. Anyway, I'm kind of excited by that. And Coast to Coast AM, the website, there's Art Bell Vault where you can listen to some of his previous episodes, but also if you go to Spotify and look up Art Bell, you can listen to most of those for absolutely no charge.
Oh.
Yeah. And so everything you've heard about in paranormal stuff, even if you're into it, whether it be Mothman or aliens or abductions or Bigfoot or trans-dimensional beings and all that stuff, was on Art Bell. Faces on Mars, moon bases, all sorts of nutty stuff, orbs, plasmic creatures. It all started there.
Yeah.
And a lot of what Art Bell talked about magically showed up on X-Files and vice versa. And the first time I heard Art Bell, I was traveling to do a job, and I had to leave at like 2 o'clock in the morning to make sure I was there by 4:30. And I'm driving down the road, and I turned on an AM radio station and heard Art Bell talking to somebody. I don't even remember what the show was about. And I was so into listening to it, I was actually staring at the radio as I started to drive off the road and fly into a bunch of mailboxes and stuff. So I very nearly killed myself, but I'm like, man. And by the time I figured out what was going on, I lost the radio station. I had no idea what show that was, and it took me like a year to find it.
Oh.
And then when I was working nights, we'd get off work, and it'd be about 12:30, 1 o'clock by the time I got home. I could listen to Art Bell till about 4, almost 5 o'clock in the morning, and I did.
Yeah.
And so did you. So, and we would chat and stuff.
Yes.
It was kind of a nerdy time.
Would you shut up? Jeez.
I used to have my little earbuds plugged into my phone, and it would be so hot in my ear that every once in a while it would shock me, let me know I was alive. So, you ever been shocked in your ear canal?
No.
It sucks. It's just like, oh my God, it's so hot.
Are your budget rate earplugs or earbuds?
Of course.
Okay.
Well, I thought they were good. They didn't have a little foamy thing on them. They had metal screens on them, and then, after a while, good times. Yeah. So, I mean, the man shaped it. He shaped paranormal, period. And I think if you had to look at a television show, it was In Search Of, which kind of really sort of brought things in with Chariots of the Gods and everything else that Leonard Nimoy talked about. As far as radio, it was Art Bell. Mm-hmm. It's more of a modern take on some things. I mean, sure, you could point back to other stuff. It's like, you could watch weird shows like Twilight Zone and stuff like that, and even Night Stalker and all this old stuff. But those were the modern media for this sort of thing in this day and age. And there's a lot of people who were born in like 1990 have no idea what I'm talking about. And it's like, if you ever wanted to train somebody in the ways of paranormal type stuff and the Fortean, right? Just get them every X-Files show, an Art Bell show, and some In Search Of, and say, absorb this media. And they would know just as much as most people today, because it's all the same stuff.
Yeah.
Chupacabra, the whole deal. Anything you want to know, it's been around for a long time.
But see, I didn't get to watch a lot of, like, In Search Of. For me, it was X-Files, Art Bell, the Time Life mystery books, and Unsolved Mysteries. Because, yes, Unsolved Mysteries had, like, crime, but they also had weird disappearances and the occasional paranormal stuff. So, for me, those were my primers,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Just proving my point.
But I didn't have In Search Of. And then when I
Well,
got
it's because
older,
In Search Of was on TV, and it didn't come on. I think we watched it Sunday afternoons on, we didn't have cable for a long time, but I don't know, like public television or something. In Search Of. It's like, what? Some of it was kind of scary. But that was in the 70s, though.
That's something that young people, you just said basically cable. And it
like
wasn't
5
on.
channels. Yeah.
People are like, what do you mean you can't watch a show?
You can't just watch it whenever you want. No, you had to catch it.
Search for it.
Yeah, it's like, if only there was a guide to let you know what was coming on television and when. Mm. And then you had the little channels, right? Because you had to get it in your little local area, right? So you had to have the channels. Yeah. And if they were transparently numbered, they were, I believe, VHF. Or no, other way around. They were UHF. And if they were dark, like filled in, then they were VHF. Ultra high frequency, very low frequency, because the way they were broadcast over, terrestrial broadcast through the airwaves. And then fast forward like 20 years later, everybody's got cable and stuff, right? All the channels went digital, and they're like, oh, what are we going to do? And it's like, they're still broadcast. You can keep using the same rabbit ears your grandma used on the roof and watch television. So, but you could buy a digital antenna and get those digital channels, and people would do them. And it's like, just go to the thrift store and buy any rabbit ears. It's the same thing. You don't need a digital antenna. So, because we cut the cable and went straight to streaming in 2008. So we just stuck rabbit ears on the TV and got like 32 channels and all that stuff. And then we streamed and junk. So we were real trailblazers, cutting the cord. People were like, how do you do it? What do you do for a home phone? It's like, it is 2008. Use your cell phone.
Yeah.
What if I want to fax something? Come on, man. I could not wait to get rid of my home phone.
Yeah.
So it's like, for what? $89 for what? I got a cell phone, bro. I don't need that garbage. So radio shaped paranormal, I think, a lot more than people actually realize when it comes to all this stuff. The paranormal, the 40N. And so there's a neat little article that kind of lays out some of the things where it talks about like spirit boxes and ghost hunting technology using radio waves.
Yeah.
And then EVP experiments. And then it even goes back to a radio show that really affected society at the time, and that was with the War of the Worlds with Orson Welles and the mass panic that created.
Yeah.
So that's a big prank. I'm surprised he didn't go to jail for that. He would today. They'd put him in jail because they wouldn't, but back then it scared the crap out of people. But yeah, Coast to Coast with Art Bell, that created the rise of paranormal talk radio. So, yeah. And he launched that show in the 80s. That's crazy. UFOs, ghosts, conspiracy theories, just all things strange. Even the Area 51 flight. And then Britain's version.
I was going to say, you were talking about how he wasn't arrested for War of the Worlds. They actually had policemen storm the radio room towards the end of the broadcast, and they finally beat down the door towards the end of the broadcast because they were going to do something.
Yeah, and then they realized how silly they were.
No, actually, an argument ensued between the head of, I guess, whatever station he was broadcasting with, and the officers, and then bedlam reigned.
Once they're in there fighting, they're like, hey, see, you can't broadcast that, see? They talked like that back in the olden days, in the 30s or whatever it was.
But basically...
40s? I can't remember.
Yeah, towards the end of the show, a crowd of newspaper reporters, photographers, and police, the cast had to leave and quickly exit CBS building by the rear entrance to get away from the sensation and bedlam.
So they snuck out the back.
Yeah.
That's probably the last time CBS was cool. Because even when I was growing up, CBS was like the old people channel,
Yeah.
Wasn't as hip as like NBC. Remember the whole...
So here's the thing, because one thing I do remember is that Future rebroadcast the show, which happened within the next few weeks. Panicked listeners would call the studios like, "Oh my God!" Because
and it's just like settled down.
Yeah. So
I mean, it's funny now, but I mean, back then, if that's your only real source of news, aside from grabbing a newspaper, is hearing it broadcast.
But there were downsides to it too, some of these broadcasts that happened within the next couple of weeks. There was one place, Concrete, Washington, where phone lines and electricity suffered a short circuit at Superior Portland Cement Company's substation, which caused residents to panic because they were unable to call neighbors, family, or friends to calm their fears. Man.
They're getting all worked up.
Yeah. So basically, everybody was worked up, panic ensued in this town, and reporters who heard of the coincidental blackout sent the story over the newswire, and Concrete became known worldwide for freaking out.
You know who else became sort of worldwide known for freaking out? Is when, like, Boston shut down the entire city over the Moonites in a tunnel. They're like, oh my God, we're going to be destroyed. They just look like a bunch of morons. Because Boston is really, and I've lived there, it's more of a self-centered town. They're like, oh, here it comes. We knew it. It's just so funny to me. See these little Cartoon Network stuck to like LED blinky things. Like, oh my God, we knew it. It's coming for us. Like, get out of here, man. Yeah. Settle down. I think everybody can just settle down.
Yeah.
I think we needed to settle down for probably the past 50 years. It's relaxed. Everybody just needs to just stop. Stop, take a breath. Just settle down.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. Yeah. Okay, so here's something I thought was kind of interesting. There's some colleges have made an odd sort of cryptid mascot swap.
I don't think it's odd.
It is. I don't know. Come on.
Okay.
So the rebranding of a community college pairing in Washington State saw the schools swap their mascot from Bigfoot to Sasquatch, following some rather odd market research and feedback. So the curious cryptid change is part of an expansive transformation of sister schools, the Spokane Community College and Spokane Falls Community College, into more of a cohesive identity, just simply known as Spokane Colleges. I'm telling you, they just need to settle down, right? Mm-hmm. So beyond the new name, the rebrand includes a fresh logo and school mascot.
Okay.
So they announced that the schools would no longer be represented by the beloved Pacific Northwest denizen Bigfoot, but they're now going to be known as Sasquatch instead.
Okay.
They're just churching it up a little bit.
Well,
that's what they're doing. They're like, which one sounds better? Hey, guys, you guys got some Bigfoot? Like, hey, we're here looking for Sasquatch. Ooh. Which would you pay more for?
Neither.
Would you pay $10 for a Bigfoot shirt? Of course you would. You'd probably pay $15 for a Sasquatch shirt.
No.
Churching it up a little bit, shining it up.
Like,
how dare you? So, yeah. So as for why they made the sort of superficial change, Spokane colleges indicated that extensive market research found the use of the foot as a logo to be unappealing. Okay, so their logo was basically a foot, like Bigfoot.
Yeah, and I can see that. So,
and with that strangely specific feedback in mind, that they jettisoned basically its previous iconic Bigfoot print as their sort of logo in favor of a fierce Sasquatch face.
Okay, you know what, the new logo, if I could describe it.
You should see it on like hockey jerseys and stuff. I don't see why you'd see it on them.
I mean, but also the colors and everything. It could easily get confused for like the Carolina blue logos for some of the Carolina sports teams.
Yeah.
You know, right down to the point that it looks kind of jagged and you're like, is that a bear? Or
yeah, it looks like any NHL sort of like the Devils or Jaguars or whatever.
Yeah.
Panthers. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, that swap gives the schools an array of fresh merchandising opportunities, which allow them to save money by not having to create a whole new mascot costume. So, and the cool thing about this article is, and we got this from Coast to Coast, is they don't even show you what the mascot looks like.
No.
So, I mean, the guy obviously, whoever's wearing it, obviously wasn't running around like a big blue foot. He's probably running around looking like Sasquatch. So, extensive market research. A panel full of experts have told me. It's like, really? Oh, I believe you now. If you told me a panel full of experts, of course I'm going to believe what you say. Make them British. Make them sound British. We're all in. We believe you. So, yeah. They did it for the money. It's actually works up probably better for him anyway. Because honestly, if I was going to buy a hat or a T-shirt or something, I wouldn't buy one with that foot because that foot does look pretty stupid.
It does, and it reminds me too much of like surfing and surf logos from the 90s.
It's a regular foot.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like it'd be more wide like a Bigfoot foot.
Yeah.
This one's got a distinct sort of. It just looks like a foot, man.
Did you design your logo through Vistaprint?
It's like, oh, you just took a picture of a foot, and now you're calling it Bigfoot. Yeah. Whereas the Sasquatch looks like Sasquatch. But I do think that they had to, we got to church it up a little bit. So now they can charge more because it is Sasquatch.
Yeah.
And he looks how fierce he looks. So.
Huh.
There you go.
Yeah.
If we ever in Spokane, I'm not buying it.
Okay.
I'm not going to buy any of that stuff because, it's blue. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to be more naturalistic as far as the old Bigfoot goes. And that's something that it always bugged me too. Where are you going? I'm going squatching. Don't ever say it to me again. It bugs me, man. It just bugs me. Like, so I was squatching last weekend. It's like, just stop. Come on. You're in the woods walking around looking for Bigfoot or Sasquatch. I'm going squatching. Get out of here. Mm-hmm. It's a pet peeve, I guess. That and the word portion.
Why?
I just don't like it. I did my portion. Oh, you did you? Come on. Section,
what about
something, portion.
Eating
just bugs
equal
me.
Portions or.
I hate it.
Okay.
I don't know why. I just do. Hate it.
Okay.
There you go. Write that down, everybody.
No.
Yep. So, do you know who Adele is?
Yes, I know who Adele is.
She's being blamed for something.
Why?
Because she's Adele. Evidently, she has given this mansion a reputation.
Okay.
It's a haunted mansion.
But in most cases...
She's British. So number one, people already believe her, right? And she's famous.
Yeah, but in most cases, like a celebrity attachment or tie to a location usually increases business. Or
this is blighted. That means it's an eyesore.
Yeah. So blighted means not good.
Yeah. So here's why. So this owner of a mansion in Britain says that he's been unable to sell his property for over a decade after singer Adele seemed to suggest that it was haunted.
Okay.
So it was previously a covenant, and it's a sizable estate. It's known as the Lock House.
Convent.
What did I say?
Covenant.
Is that the same thing?
No.
So it was basically rented for 6 months by the musician back in 2012. And at the time, she was interviewed by 60 Minutes at the location. And during the piece, she remarked that the mansion was quite scary. Mm-hmm. And while the comment may have been innocuous, the British media was quick to seize on her spooky observation, much to the chagrin of the property owner, who now laments that the singer blighted the property by suggesting that it may be haunted. Okay. I just make the assumption that anything in Europe that's over 600 years old is haunted.
Not even 600. You could go 300.
Yeah, older than our country is definitely haunted, right?
Yeah. But that's taking it a bit far. She said one thing in an article. That's way different than like we watch these TikTok videos where they keep going back to the same locations. Or like, what is it? Bob Mackey's place. Where it's like countless people go there and something bad happens.
Yeah.
This guy says one comment about one bad thing.
Yeah. It doesn't matter that it was ugly and run down and worn out.
Yeah.
But Adele did it, right? Nicholas Sutton, who's the owner, explained that he's actively tried to sell a property for about 14 years, and despite his considerable efforts, he could not find a buyer for the estate. And Sutton asserted that the lack of interest in the site was specifically due to the singer's observation about its unsettling nature, and that the comment negatively impacted future marketing efforts.
Okay, so first off, I clicked on a different article to find this house. It looks like it's been in a Stephen King made-for-TV movie. It's not bad. It just looks a little ominous and like a mansion mini castle. There's nothing spooky looking about it. Now, I bet inside it might be
look,
run down.
if Adele said
Okay.
It's scary. Then it must be scary.
It's a 10-bedroom home on 7.4 acres near the village of Partridge Green.
I don't know where that is.
Yeah, I don't know either.
That's where they do the British baking show.
Yeah. Okay.
So anyway, Adele making that man lose income because it's haunted. I would totally capitalize on it.
Yeah. And he says there has only been one offer on it, and that was during 2020, but the prospective buyer withdrew after learning the property's supposed haunted status. So now the owner is seeking permission to transform the mansion and a garage into 3 houses and a cottage. He's probably asking too much for it. Yeah.
Or maybe that's his ulterior motive.
Yeah.
Maybe he wants to be able to convert it, and he needs a reason for them to rezone it or do whatever they do. And the reason given is, I can't sell it, I can't do anything with it because it has this terrible reputation now, so you should let me convert this into garbage apartments in a townhouse.
It's literally just, I know why it's not selling. It's too expensive.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Let's just blame it on Adele.
Yeah. That's so dumb.
Well, I had to put it in here.
I know. So
it is what it is. Speaking of dumb.
Okay.
So there's a Las Vegas murder and aliens have been blamed.
Oh, okay.
That's obviously a defense.
So a Las Vegas man arrested for murder told authorities that he committed the dastardly deed at the behest of aliens.
Aliens made me do it.
Yeah. The weird incident reportedly occurred last Wednesday when Timothy Sarang Law, allegedly shot and killed his father, Yoon Jin Law. Cops investigating the case quickly took him into custody and, upon questioning the man, received a rather strange explanation for his actions. According to the police, Law claimed that aliens had told him to kill his father. The accused murderer went on to assert that the shooting was an act of benevolence because the individual that he shot was actually an otherworldly worker who was wearing the skin of his father's face in a fashion that he likened to being tortured. The man also mused to police that he felt like he was on a different planet, which would seem to suggest that perhaps he was experiencing a mental health episode. That'll likely be addressed at some point in the future, as he was arrested for the murder with a preliminary hearing set for later this month.
What if it's true?
I don't know. I definitely think there's a bit of mental health concerns going on here. So
yeah, but what if it's true though?
Okay.
So nobody will ever believe him, and the more he asserts, the more people think he's crazy.
Okay.
Yeah, we've seen it happen time and time again on shows and stuff like that, movies, where one person knows the truth and nobody believes them.
All right.
Yep. Okay, why don't you tell us about tar balls before we get ready to wrap up this quick episode?
Oh no, I lost my links. Hold on one
Tar
second.
balls.
Yeah.
Florida.
Yeah.
So tar balls wash ashore in Florida on some of the beaches that they have out there.
Yeah.
But the source of the tar balls, that's the mystery.
Yeah. The U.S. Coast Guard's been searching for tar balls that began showing up on South Florida beaches over the weekend, but so far the source of the black muck remains a mystery. The agency has been investigating reports of tar balls from Port Everglades to Palm Beach along the coast of the Atlantic Ocean, the Coast Guard said in a statement. Some beaches in South Florida closed on Saturday when tar balls washed ashore, but they've since reopened. What are tar balls? Tar balls are small, dark pieces of oil which can stick to the feet of beachgoers, according to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. They often come from oil spills, but the source can also be natural seeps in which oil slowly escapes from petroleum reserves beneath the ocean floor. That was a possible source of tar balls that washed onto the shore in the Huntington Beach area of California in March 2024. While some tar balls may be as large as pancakes, most are coin-sized, the agency said in a fact sheet. Tar balls are very persistent in the marine environment and can travel hundreds of miles. For most people, the occasional brief contact with a small amount of oil isn't harmful, but for people who are particularly sensitive to chemicals, tar balls can cause rashes or allergic reactions. Thing is, Coast Guard's conducting searches by air and sea. They've been unable to find a specific source. It's believed that whatever was washing ashore will naturally dissipate. The agency, the Coast Guard, is no longer investigating the source of the tar balls. It's working with local communities in case they have further concerns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, I mean, it's what oil does in the water. I mean,
Yeah.
Going all the way back to like what do you call it? The Deepwater Horizon explosion, the underwater rig, offshore drilling rig. It was leaking.
And the reason I brought this up was, I remember this happening in the late 80s, early 90s towards the Outer Banks, and right at the edge of the Chesapeake Bay.
Yeah.
Some of them actually made their way into the Chesapeake Bay. And like the article says, they were anywhere from I want to say 50-cent piece to quarter size all the way up to the size of a small kid's hand, which because I was a little kid. And it's not just balls of oil. Sometimes there's a lot of detritus, a lot of ocean matter in them. They're very gross. They smell bad. And everybody who touched them back then, everybody got a rash or some sort of, and it got explained away as being tar balls or oil balls.
Yeah, I mean, they could have come from shipwrecks because you look at World War II and as many ships went down in different places, of course, close to shore or whatever, and they all released tar for oil.
That's what ended up being the source of the ones that happened back then. It was, the structural integrity for this ship that had gone down years ago finally corroded enough that the oil finally came to the surface. So
gross.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that someplace as far as Florida, but what's sunk recently? Have there been pirates? Is there a natural source?
Pirates.
Something? Yeah. So that's one thing that can happen.
Just pirates.
Yeah.
Just doing what?
Sinking somebody's ship, sinking a drug boat, anything like that.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Getting rid of evidence, basically.
It's okay.
What?
I don't know. I think pirates is probably down a little bit low on the list. I think this is just something's leaking. And where, who knows? I mean, who knows if you're going to be able to find it exactly. But, I mean, yeah, shipwrecks can cause leaks, natural leaks. I think, personally, it's an offshore drilling rig somewhere. Had a little bit of an issue, and a whole bunch of it leaked. And it's just sort of drifting around. But who knows, right? And it's kind of hard to say. What do you think about that?
Okay.
All right. So I was going to put this story of this humpback whale that briefly swallowed a kayaker.
Yeah.
I'm not. You have to see the picture. It just comes up to get him a little something to eat, and the kayaker happens to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Gets briefly swallowed by the whale and then kind of spit back out again. Okay. Which makes for a good story, especially if you're a tourist or something like that. You go on this tour, you're taking a vacation, and how'd your vacation go? I got swallowed by a humpback whale, and they're like, baloney. You know what I mean? No, you didn't. Yes, I did. No, you didn't. But see, there is evidence and video evidence.
I made a joke.
A humpback whale got him.
What
if the whale's just having fun with him?
See.
You just catch them, spitting them out. That guy won't come back here anymore.
Yeah. But I also, I was saying to somebody, I was like, imagine, what a burn that is, that you're so gross as a human being, you got spit out by a whale instead of being eaten as a snack.
You know what happened? They would just call him Jonah. What's up, Jonah?
Yeah.
So that'd be his nickname forever. So. There you go. And then, it's just a bunch of stories that are just kind of like, I don't know. What?
No, I found a different page. A lot of times when we find weird news, it comes to us either from people who send it to us through Facebook, social media, or an email, or, Greg does a lot of research. And I found a different place because the place I used to go to, which was one of our favorite New Mexico news stations.
Yeah, it's just the news.
Yeah. They took down their weird news section, so I had to find another place.
Yeah.
And just some of their weird...
Well, some of their weird news is just news.
Yeah.
Just stuff that happens in New Mexico. It has like its own little Florida twinge to it.
Well, like this place that I found weird news. 104-year-old woman celebrates birthday by going to jail. I'm just like, what?
Oh, yeah, I actually read that.
Yeah.
She just wanted to go to jail. That was on like her bucket list. So they locked her up for a minute.
Yeah.
So she got that done. I mean, that's just...
Ta-da. Yeah.
She probably just had to ask, you know what I mean? She didn't have to really do anything. It would be funny if she just went in there and started smacking cops, and they're like, we're going to put you in jail.
Yeah. Or the Mississippi police seek escaped emu for felony fleeing and disorderly contact. And I think we've actually talked about this particular emu before because he keeps escaping. So, yeah, police shared a wanted poster for this Emu the Great. Yeah. So.
Yeah, all right. I think we're done.
Okay.
I think we're just done this time around.
Yeah.
Just a lot of stuff going on. But none of it's like really, I mean, the stuff that we like to talk about, none of it's really like, it's just kind of like, meh.
Yeah.
Now, if we wanted to talk about other crazy stuff going on in our own country, we could do that.
I don't want to do that.
Well, I mean, it's all the conspiracies and stuff, and it's still, I still kind of go back to looking at some of the conspiracies that we've talked about in the past, and when I'm losing all of our social media stuff because of it, or a good chunk of it. I kind of want to find what's actually going to be put out with a lot of stuff that's allegedly going to be declassified and put out there. Some of it already is, like the JFK stuff, and see.
Yeah.
You know, because one of the big debates about JFK assassination was, you know, it was put out it was one shooter, and everybody, it's no way it could be one shooter, right? And all of a sudden, oh, hey, it's two shooters. But I kind of want to see it and read it and do all that stuff, but so it kind of is what it is. So I think what we're going to do is take a second. We're going to go ahead and wrap up the podcast. We're going to be doing more podcasts, and maybe not quite so long. I think when we do podcasts that are an hour and 15 minutes long every time, it's just long. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we'll see if we can shorten it. Now, if you have any ideas of how long we should do our podcast, you could submit them.
Yep.
To www.trashcan. We'll do what we want.
No, you can reach
out.
out.
You remember for a while ago, I think it was like 5 or 6, maybe it's a little bit longer than that, maybe 7 years ago, or it seemed like every 2 weeks it was a snake and a salad and coming out of airplane vents and stuff like that.
You mean insects and snakes and animals in general? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I wonder if that's going to happen again. Those were good times.
Would you stop?
It was like the killer clown coming out every Halloween, and then snakes falling out of vents, and you open up your salad, and there's like frogs and spiders and snakes in there.
Well, what was it? Last week, when we didn't do the podcast, I did send you, 3 recalls in a row?
Yeah, but once I looked into them, it's like everything is being recalled, and, you know, we can't.
Yeah.
You can't eat anything.
We could make a whole podcast just on recalling.
Well, here's something. Recalls. Why are eggs so expensive? Allegedly, it's because of some avian flu, right? Mm-hmm. But then how come the price of chicken hasn't gone down?
Yeah, that
was like a good question.
Yeah.
Are we eating those avian chickens?
Yep.
Is that what makes them a little more, maybe it's a little bit more tangy?
Oh, stop it.
I'm just saying, man. I mean, it could be, right?
All right. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. Again, CreepGeeks.com if you'd like to send us a suggestion or podcast idea. Alternately, 575-208-4025. You can give us a call and leave a voicemail, or reach out to us on social media. We are on Facebook and everywhere, pretty much.
Yeah. So I do appreciate you taking time to listen. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, let us know. But see you later. Take it easy. Bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.